Our next award is named for Newman's first president, although no one called it Newman back then either. It was Sacred Heart Junior College. The Monsignor Leon A. McNeill Award is given to honor an alum who has achieved a high degree of success and integrity in their professional lives and have thereby made significant contributions to society while demonstrating concerns for others. This award was first given in 1985. It is always a treat for me to help grant this award because as a student I helped write the original criteria for this award when I was here in 1985. Some of the past recipients of this award who might be with us tonight, if you are, I would ask you to stand and be recognized. Elma Broadfoot, Rosemary Dugan, Mary Kirkbride, Gwen Shonatana, Mark Troyle, unlike many Newman grads, I did not know this year's award recipient when I was a student at Newman. He was the university's first full-time chaplain in about 1970, and he served until the year before I arrived here as a freshman in 1983. My resident assistant in the dorm, Mike Boston, would frequently tell tales and entertain me with stories of this great and understanding young priest named Father Tom, a priest who really understood young people and used to be the Newman chaplain. Mike would bring it up frequently when we would study and discuss the history of St. Monica, sometimes until 2 a.m. at the local English pub. Mike would tell me how Father Tom would have enjoyed us having had this conversation, and it really was all about St. Monica, but all over more than a couple beers. I think that was Father Larry Frankovich's Advanced 300 level course, and it really focused more on St. Augustine than it did his mother Monica. Father Tom never forgot how to understand young people. But I met him, and when I met him, it was much later in life. He joined the board of the Villa Maria Nursing Home in Mulvane. It was the mid-1990s. Nursing homes were struggling, and Father Tom was one of the founders, and I believe at the time the president of Harry Hines Memorial Hospice. I remembered how great Mike always said he was, and then I felt like I was just a poser pretending to understand the elderly. And not just the elderly, but those who were suffering and reaching the end of their life as well. This is when I came to know Father Tom. He hadn't forgotten how to understand young people. All I had to do was stop talking. And on the rare occasion when I was able to do that, he did teach me a thing or two about the dignity of suffering, and not merely for the dying, but as much for their families and their loved ones. The Reverend Thomas A. Welk is a former Kansas Newman College chaplain. I don't know that he had any other formal assigned duties, but he was nonetheless the instructor of scripture and liturgy at Newman. He's coached skiing, swimming, men's tennis, and women's club softball, all at Newman. He was inducted into the Newman Athletics Hall of Fame in 2009. I like to think of it as a convert to the Alumni Association, because his Newman degree is rather unique. It was awarded honorary in 1979. He is currently the chaplain of the Adorers of the Blood of Christ in Wichita, and is the director of professional education at Harry Hines Memorial Hospice. He serves on the leadership team of his religious congregation, the Missionaries of the Most Precious Blood, and he is just certainly one of the hippest Catholic priests I know. When I retired as chair of the Villa Maria Board of Directors, they awarded me with a mantle clock, which Father Tom made himself, just like so many other woodworking projects and charity auction items he has handcrafted for Newman over the years. and I wanted him to know it still sits over my barrister's desk in my office at home, and it clicked off the hours last night as I wrote these remarks until 2 in the morning. If you have never been able to think about a funeral mass truly being a celebration of life, then you've never attended the funeral of a Sister Adore over which Father Tom has officiated. The Leon A. McNeill Distinguished Alumni Award doesn't begin to mark the distinction of this man's career in hospice care, his regional effect on the importance of dignity at the end of life, the education he has provided others on those topics, his service to the ASCs, or his service to this university. But I submit to you, it is a proper start, a beginning to recognize the integrity and the success of a professional life held in the service of others. Ladies and gentlemen, get out your cameras because he wore his Roman collar tonight. I ask your recognition, and I welcome this year's recipient of the Leon A. McNeill Award, Father Tom Welk.
KB, thank you again for most of those kind remarks. I really am honored to be in such select company tonight, and also select company for those who have received this award in the past. I kept thanking people as I walked in for coming tonight to honor me, and they kept saying, "We didn't come for you." They kept naming off all the other people. But again, very seriously, thank you for allowing me to get this award. When I see myself included among those who in the past received it, I feel rather humble. And when I think about receiving it in the name of Monsignor McNeill, I really feel humble. How many in this room actually knew him personally? Now you kind of give away your age when you raise your hand. And I have mine up. When I came to Wichita, I got to know him. And I have to tell you this background of time period. Studied in the 60s. Our seminary is part of the University of Dayton. You know what went on in the political world in the 60s, whole civil rights movement, Vatican II. These were times of turmoil. Our professors didn't know what textbooks to use, and that's literally true. When I came here, and we still had, talking about situations marked with war, the Vietnam War was going on. That was a time of turmoil, and some of us were much in favor of that. I am sure there's an FBI file. I'm glad you didn't research that, Sarah. Some of you know that. You were on the board, Paul, right? I think you got a lot of calls about this rebel priest out at Sacred Heart. He's nodding his head. Monsignor, you also were around, so you don't have to tell any more stories. But I also got to know Monsignor McNeill. And remember, the church, as John the 23rd said, had been shuttered and locked off for 400 years. And what did he say? We got to open some doors and some windows. And Monsignor McNeill was really in the forefront of a lot of that. You ever hear the story, Johnny, about he wanted to use new ways of teaching, but we move slowly in the church. Changes come very hard. Not that they come very hard in the academic world, mind you. But he wanted to go ahead, and I think there was a little bit of shutting him down. So what he used to do, he'd go under his desk and he'd bring out the new textbooks. And on the top, he had the Baltimore Catechism. So he got his way somewhat. But Monsignor McNeill, with his halting speech and his physical demise, also loved to go. But he was out there really giving witness to what the church ought to be about. And I think that's where we also need to ask ourselves in this day and age. You know what Sidney Harris said is the definition of a saint? And my founder, Gasper, and Maria, for the sisters, they personify that also. Sidney Harris, a columnist who I immensely enjoy. You know who was saying this? It's someone who's been dead long enough for us to forget how tough they were to live with when they were alive. I think that hits it pretty well. These were not gentle spirits, a lot of them. They were really out there beating the bushes, and I think that hits it well. And you know who was really one of those people that shook the bushes? It's Jesus Christ. What's the threefold ministry we talk about in terms of Jesus? He's a priest, prophet, I'll go with the other ones, king and prophet. Obviously, priest, the liturgical element, the celebrations are very important. King is really bad because that's servanthood. And Pope Francis is really trying to bring us back to that. It's got to be about servanthood. Anybody who's named now, they better be in line with that particular concept. But I think the toughest one is to be a prophet. And that's not looking into the future in a crystal ball. That means being there and saying the things that need to be said and the things that need to be done. And I think a lot of times, just people don't like to hear that. Talking again about the whole witnessing against the war, there was a lot of, if you don't like it here, leave it. Love it or leave it. America, remember, my country, right or wrong. Sometimes often not remembering to carry through more fully with that. One of the things that has always been edifying for me here is that the sisters set the example of what needs to be done in giving witness to building the kingdom that Jesus talked about. They don't shy away from that. They want to make sure that we celebrate over and over again, coming together in the worship community. They exemplify servanthood, and in many ways, speaking out and giving witness. In Newman University, I'm proud to be associated with that. The other night, was it Thursday night, Marine, when we got together, the young man you quoted, the transformational aspect, remember another quote he gave us? I was surprised when he did this in the Gospel of Matthew. What are we supposed to do as followers of Jesus? We're supposed to go out and baptize the entire world. And that doesn't mean just pouring water over someone or submerging them. That means we go out and we help to transform them. When we talk about being a Catholic university, it doesn't mean we just have a crucifix on the wall or we wear a Roman collar or all the external signs, and I'm not putting any of that down. But if we don't really do the kind of things to transform, then I'm not sure we're really Catholic. In this university, I was just amazed when Rosemary Needens gave that figure the other night. You know how many service hours in the last year that were measured the Newman students gave? 258,000. And that's not talking about the service trips they go on. It doesn't talk about the transformational projects they engage in. We really, I think, can be proud of what this university has done, and we can be proud of what the alumni are giving witness to. You probably know this quote already. What is the role, indeed, of what we ought to be about in our work? Not original, hard to determine who came up with it, supposedly a reporter named Dunn at the beginning of the 19th century. What we need to do is comfort the afflicted, but you know what else? To afflict the comfortable. When we get down and get too comfortable, we need to start poking things and getting things going. So again, I thank you very much for this honor tonight. I can only hope and pray that I continue to be of support. And I'd like really seriously thank the many friends who came here. I'd like to thank my family, but they may be hiding in here somewhere because they pulled that on me before. But I couldn't believe, Margaret, that you got family that came from so far away. Mine wouldn't even drive across the street. No, seriously, my family's scattered everywhere, so it's very difficult for them to come. Thank you for being here. I really do highly thank you for the honor.